Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be reading from my novel, The Bad Immigrant. I love this cover as well. Anyway, the description goes, The Bad Immigrant cements Sefiata's place as one of the best storytellers of our time. Through the voice of her first male protagonist, Lukman, Atta peels away nuanced layers to expose the realities of migration from Nigeria to the USA, such as the strains of adjustment and the stifling pressure to conform without loss of identity. Covering a wide range of issues, including interracial and intraracial tensions and familial stresses exacerbated in a new geographic and cultural environment. This novel is a thoroughgoing exposition of the many challenges that confront a modern migrant, told from the perspective of a protagonist whose sophistication and academic prowess are no guarantee of success in a country that is prone to valuing conformity over merit. Atta grounds Lukman's narrative in a rich array of cultural and literary allusions that testify to the author's wit and skillful management of complex matters in a manner at once erudite and accessible. In The Bad Immigrant, Atta deftly drives the story forward with a repartee that forges deep intimacy with the characters and engenders sympathy for all of them, even those we find infuriating. I was never keen on the idea of coming to America. My wife, Miriam, was, though. She was the one who submitted our entry for the green card lottery through the Diversity Immigration Visa Program. She then convinced me to leave Nigeria after we found out we had won. I had my doubts from the very beginning. For one, about my job prospects. But Miriam didn't give up until she had made her case. I'd just turned 40 and she was approaching. We'd been working for years and we were barely getting by. She was a nurse and I was a public relations manager. How would we put our children, Taslim and Bashira, through secondary school? She asked, and to what end? Private universities were expensive. State universities provided substandard educations and students took longer to graduate because of government employee strikes. Miriam knew how to get to me. I taught literature for a while at a state university in Lagos and would have been happy to continue to. I went into banking in the late 80s because it was the only industry in the private sector where I could earn a decent living. At the bank where I worked, I was in charge of press releases and external communiques. The boredom of my daily routine almost killed me. But my paycheck kept her happy. At the military hospital where she worked, nurses fled overseas as soon as they got plane tickets and visas. They held meetings to pray about winning the green card lottery. She had some job security as a government employee, and we lived in a 2-bedroom flat on Lagos mainland. What would happen when she eventually retired, she went on. How would we pay our rent? She would have to beg for her pension, as government workers did. I was guaranteed to lose my job once I reached a certain age, and I had no other skill but an ability to write. No, she said, there was no future for us in Nigeria. We would end up poor if we stayed there. I couldn't stop her. No one could. She filled out our immigration application forms and arranged our medical tests and interviews at the US Embassy. Her father was a retired army officer and she prided herself on being efficient. To raise money for our journey, she traded gold jewelry and sold our furniture and other belongings, including our Peugeot, which despite severe wear and tear fetched several times what I'd bought it for secondhand. I went along with her plans only because of the educational opportunities for our children. I found out about American schools and examinations and contacted an old colleague of mine, Osaro, who taught at a college in New York. Osaro and I had both got our PhDs from the University of Ibadan. He was a lecturer when he left Nigeria. Now he was also a published writer. I was honest about my situation when I spoke to him. I wasn't one to pretend I was doing well back home to prove a point. Our economy was yet to recover from a dictatorship. We'd recently held our general elections after 15 years of military regimes, and who had we elected as president? A former head of state, a soldier in mufti, under the watch of UN inspectors, as the rest of the world congratulated us on our peaceful transition to democracy. I decided that Nigeria's return to democracy only meant that any corrupt, incompetent individual could legitimately run the country from then on. So perhaps it was time for us to leave. Thank you for listening.